Yes, indeed, folks. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. Yeah. It's Jazz Club here on WoW Radio. Nice. Let's talk. It's what I do. It's how I'm used. It's how you like it. If you are not already in our IRC channel, you are making a grave error, as per always. # WC Radio, now on irc.quakenet.org. So if you're already on QuakeNet, hey, convenience! On you go. I'd also like to give a special shout-out to the spammer who tried to steal my names on QuakeNet. Indeed, what happened was, we moved over to QuakeNet, and on that day, overnight, my internet does what it usually does and disconnected me. Now, when I came back, my main nicknames, i.e. Total Biscuit and Total Halibut, were taken and hosted on some random rack space box in no channel. So I was thinking, well, that's kind of lousy. Someone's obviously trying to take the piss. Unpleasant. But I picked another name, and that got taken as well. And I went to the Oppers, and everyone knows on QuakeNet you can't really own a nickname, so the Oppers really couldn't do anything. I don't blame them for that, that's their policy. However, I thought maybe I should have a look through the rules and see whether or not it was possible to find some kind of workaround, some kind of loophole to get rid of this guy. And I found something. Indeed, in the clones segment, you may not have 5 or more clones from the same host mask and IP. Otherwise, you will get G-lined. Now, this guy was literally, I don't know if he was hanging out in the IRC channel or something, stealing every name that I picked. So I'm like, right, okay, how many's he got? He has 4 of my names. So maybe if I pick a new name and then deliberately leave IRC for a few minutes, he'll pick the 5th name and get himself banned. Why, yes, he did get himself banned. Moron. So yes, he managed to get himself G-lined off the network, and now I have a BNC. So, nah. Idiot. Let's be honest. Someone who goes and steals nicknames on IRC, do you really expect them to be the paragon of intelligence? No, you don't. Anyway. /smug mode. Disengaged. Let's get on with some content. Dungeon system, one of the flagship features of this new patch, along with the new icon for Mage Armor. What does it do? It allows you to randomly select a dungeon. It allows you to enter a queue, a cross-faction queue, in fact, to get into that dungeon. And then you go to the dungeon, and you don't have to run there. You get teleported. Mystical, magical, wonderful. So, the question is, what do we think of it? It's been a source of controversy over various aspects of it, and I shall try and cover those in the next 13 or so minutes. Now, first things first, my opinion on it, briefly. Is it one of the best things to ever come into WoW? Yes, actually, it really is. For a variety of reasons. Not least, I might add, the convenience. So, I was never a big heroic runner. At all. It was annoying to me. It irritated me. I didn't hoard badges or anything of the ilk. I just couldn't be bothered. Simple as that. I didn't want to waste the time flying from dungeon to dungeon, getting summoned. It's like, oh, boring, blah, blah, blah. Now, for some reason, and I believe convenience is a big part of this, the dungeon system has got me running 5-mans again. A lot of 5-mans. How many emblems of triumph have I got? How many welfare badges have I got since I came back to WoW? When was it? Last Wednesday? Let's check. Yes, 250. And that's a couple of hours, well, not a couple of hours, maybe 3 hours or so a night when not raiding, just running dungeons. And I keep doing it. It's fun. And there's lots of things for me to get. I got my full tier 9. I might add, I waited until we'd fully cleared TOC until I started buying tier 9. Because you know what? I don't believe I deserve tier 9 unless I've beaten the content that it drops in. Yes, integrity, folks. No hypocrisy from me. So, we did all of these random dungeons, and we continue to do these random dungeons. The variety helps. What doesn't help is the fact that every 2 dungeons seems to be halls of freaking lightning. I don't know why, but we keep getting halls of lightning, and every time it comes up, it's like, no! Oculus, thankfully, hasn't popped too many times for us, but I believe everyone, no doubt, has a instance that just keeps coming up for them. One guy said, oh god, this is the 7th anchor het I've done today. I can imagine that would get very annoying very fast. But it is very handy. Now, and yes, I have done a little bit of pugging. Admittedly, not a lot of it, because I don't need to. I've got a guild. And you can use the random dungeon feature with a guild, and you still get the bonus 2 emblems of triumph. And the 2 emblems of frost from the first one that you do every day. So there's really no need to take a pugger. You get some random 5% buff. Luck of the draw, or whatever they call it, if you take one pug guy, and I believe you also earn points towards some kind of achievement that I don't care about. It's nice that they've thought of that, because that 5% buff is quite nice in terms of evening things out and giving you a bit of a leg up if you happen to get a guy in your group who's undergeared. So it's not too bad. So overall, I quite like it, but there's been a lot of controversy surrounding this particular system on a variety of different things. Now, the first thing is something I actually encountered yesterday. Now, Ariana, also known as Intricacy, my wife, transferred over to the server to join the guild. And she had only just got to 80. Literally, only just got to 80 on that day with that character. She's got a bunch of other 80 characters, but she wanted the priest over there. So she did that, and we had a situation whereby she couldn't join any heroics via the dungeon system, because the heroics have a built-in gear checker. And there are various stages of this gear checker. The heroics have a baseline of gear that you must have in order to join them via the random dungeon system. I must stress, you can go into them normally. No problem at all. But if you use the random dungeon system, there is a check for gear. And because, of course, she was in questing greens with a few blues, it triggered the check. So we're like, well, that kind of sucks. And now I can understand this entirely, and I fully support this in the context of completely random pugs. Yeah? Or at least semi-random pugs. I don't support it in the concept of an entire guild group. I don't know if they just either didn't put the check in there because they forgot, or because they actually want you to pug. I don't know. I know this makes pugging significantly more attractive, but the system also works for guild groups, and indeed works better, because, of course, guild groups are going to have better DPS, they're going to tank better, they're going to heal better, they're going to be more efficient, they're going to be better in terms of the communication. So, for us as a guild, it really works. That one thing I would like to see changed, just because it's inconvenient. If my guild chooses to run someone who's undergeared through heroics, that is our choice. It's not our choice if there are other non-guildies in the group. They shouldn't be burdened down by our person who maybe doesn't heal well enough, or doesn't tank well enough, or doesn't do enough DPS because they are undergeared. But if it's a guild-only group, we deserve to be able to make that choice for ourselves. And we shouldn't have to go through the inconvenience of running to an instance. That said, it's nowhere near as bad as a lot of people have been making it out to be. Indeed, we were able to unlock all of the heroics except for the 3 Ice Crown ones for Jen, simply by running Forge of Souls normal and Pit of Sauron normal. That got her a couple of upgrades which were enough to push it past that, what is obviously a very low threshold in order to get into random heroics. Now, you see I mentioned the 3 ICC instances. Well, those 5-mans actually have a additional limit. As in, you have to have a lot higher gear level in order to get into them. Mainly because they're a lot harder. Specifically, the Halls of Reflection. That's way, way harder, but we'll be talking about that in detail later on, so I won't go too far into it. However, there's been a bunch of whining on the forums about it. Loads of it. It's like, well, how am I supposed to get gear? Yeah. Ugh, cry. The way that you always used to get gear. I remember a time back in TBC when you didn't hit 80 and jump straight into heroics, because you couldn't. You got your ass handed to you in that gear. You couldn't do it. Heroics were a lot harder back then. Nowhere near as much so now. You know, Heroic Black Morass. Try that when you've just got up to 80. Try that without decent gear in your questing greens. Watch them wipe on it hard. Yeah, I remember those days. Those were the good days. But I'll give out one of my rare tips. If you have this issue, just go into normal ICC instances. Just do the quest line. Go into normal TOC. That drops like item level 200 plus gear. It's really easy to get past that threshold. And they whine and they bitch and they complain. The fact of the matter is, these people are incredibly entitled. Honestly. I deserve to get into this because It's like, well, what's your reason? Come on, stop sniveling and tell me your reason. I pay my subscription. That's your only reason? That is your only reason for wanting to get into these things. You're in greens. Questing greens. No enchants. No gems. You're not even the right spec. You want to be in my group? No way. It simply comes down to this. The enjoyment of 4 and the time of 4 is more valuable than the time of 1. If you've got one undergeared guy, then that guy is most likely going to waste your time. Especially if he simply has obviously not bothered to do anything with his gear. It's like you haven't even bought vendor gems. All your gem slots are empty. No enchants, not even the most basic level of enchants. It's like I saw a warrior. He didn't even bother to have any stats or health on his chest piece. On this blue chest piece that he had. And that warrior actually ended up doing about 600 DPS. We ended up with him in the group. And he was absolutely pathetic. It was 4 of us guildies and then him as a random. It was terrible. It was abysmal. I've never seen anything like it. And that is the greatest insult you can ever give to someone. Wasting their time. So yes, Blizzard has put into place a system where you are not able to waste people's time. And indeed, they allow you to vote kick. So what did we do? Well, we vote kicked him, except for the fact that the vote kick has a cooldown of 15 minutes. You can't be serious. We can finish most of the instances in that time. 15 minutes? We happen to be in Halls of Stone at the time, which does take a little bit longer than that, especially when you've got a DPS who is doing less DPS than my wand. Ugh, what a waste. We actually let him die and he just sat there screaming for 10 minutes and then we kicked him out. What a waste of space. So that's something that definitely needs to be worked on. I appreciate the fact that the vote kick is there, but it needs to be less loose in terms of the time. You've got to be able to do it within, say, 5 minutes. 5 minutes is enough time to determine whether or not someone is a bloody idiot. Really. It doesn't take a lot of analysis to realise that. Now, of course, there's whining about the vote kick feature as well. Big thread. You shouldn't be able to vote kick. Elitism. Oh, be quiet. Elitism. Elitism is the catch-all phrase these days for this person wants to play better than me. This person does not share my Care Bear, crybaby, bleeding heart attitude that everyone is entitled to come and dance around the freaking maypole and have epics fall from the sky on their heads. That's the kind of person I'm talking about that defends the idea that vote kick should not be in there. Rubbish. It's the same people that defend the idea that there shouldn't be a gear check. Rubbish. There should be both. Both of these things should be in there. I'm glad that they're there. Heck, if it were up to me, I would up the gear check more than it is. Because, hey, we still got that 600 DPS warrior who was standing around for half the blinking run until we kicked him out. Now, I understand the plight of people who are undergeared and really want to get started, but I'm sorry. There are other ways of progression. For instance, when Jen got to 80, you know what the first thing I did? I went to the auction house, bought her some Evan Weave gloves and a sash of Jordan to replace those greens. How much? Barely any money whatsoever. Like 400 gold total for these epics. Really easy to get. Couple of item level 200s right there off the bat. All it took was a couple more items. And then she was there. And you know what she went for them? Normals. That's where you go, folks. Normals. ICC normals still drop item level 219. That's what you need. That's all you need. Go do it. Take some responsibility. And maybe Blizzard might want to give them a bit of a prod there. Have a recommendation in there. It's like, you appear to be undergeared. Maybe you should go here. That's actually a thought. Here's an idea for you, Blizzard. You're listening to this. Write this down. Have an in-game recommendation engine that analyzes your gear and suggests a progression path for you. You do that. Have it in-game. I can guarantee it will help. For those who are willing to listen. Those who aren't, well, they're a lost cause anyway. My name is Total Biscuit. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio. I'll be right back after the break to tell you about the ICC 5-mans. Some of the best 5-mans ever made? Maybe. Enjoy.